Imagine a moment that makes millions of ARMY around the world suddenly fall silent. Jimin's name is called. An award is placed before him, and the attention of the entire South Korean public turns toward one person who, for years, has helped carry the name of his country onto the world stage. Park Jimin, the BTS member known not only for his incredible voice and dancing, but also for his remarkable journey from a young trainee to one of South Korea's most recognizable stars. A moment like this sounds extraordinary. And when news about Jimin and an award from the highest levels of the Korean government began attracting attention, ARMY immediately reacted. Some felt incredibly proud. Some were deeply emotional. And others simply couldn't believe that Jimin's long journey could finally receive such an extraordinary level of recognition. But behind all the excitement lies a much bigger story. A story about a young man from Busan who slowly transformed his life through music. A story about endless training, about stages, about failures, about pressure, about tears, and ultimately, about a name that is now recognized in almost every corner of the world. Jimin. Years ago, very few people could have imagined that a young man from Busan would eventually stand on some of the biggest stages in the world. But Jimin proved that dreams that once seemed impossible can become reality. His journey with BTS began with extraordinary hard work. As a trainee, Jimin had to go through an incredibly demanding training period. He had to improve his dancing. He had to train his vocals. He had to learn how to perform in front of cameras. And most importantly, he had to build confidence in himself. All of this happened before the world knew his name. Before there were millions of fans. Before massive concerts. Before awards. Before international media attention. Jimin was simply a young man with a dream. And that dream eventually led him to BTS. When BTS debuted, nobody could have predicted just how far their journey would go. Year after year passed. Album after album was released. Stage after stage was conquered. And slowly, BTS began changing the face of the Korean music industry. Jimin became an important part of that journey. He became known for his elegant dancing, his incredibly detailed movements, his facial expressions on stage, and of course, his unique vocal color. But what made many fans feel even more connected to Jimin was not simply his performance. There was always an emotional quality that he brought to the stage. When he sang a song, Jimin could make audiences feel as though the lyrics carried a deeply personal story. When he danced, every movement seemed to have meaning. And when he spoke to ARMY, he often showed a simple and caring side of himself. That is why, for many fans, Jimin is more than just an idol. He is someone who has accompanied them through different stages of their lives. Some fans discovered BTS while they were still in school. Some found their music while going through difficult moments. Others discovered Jimin during a time when they simply needed something that could make them smile. And throughout the years, Jimin remained there, becoming part of millions of people's lives. That is why whenever news about an award or recognition involving Jimin appears, ARMY can become incredibly emotional. They remember the long journey. They remember when BTS was still fighting for recognition. They remember the smaller stages. They remember the time when BTS was nowhere near as big as they are today. And then they compare that past with the present. A Jimin who has performed in front of millions of people. A Jimin whose name is recognized across countries. A Jimin who has become part of one of the biggest stories in K-pop history. Of course, none of this happened overnight. There were thousands of hours of training. There were difficult decisions. There were failures. There was criticism. There was pressure. And there were countless moments when they had to keep moving forward, even when things were not easy. Jimin has experienced moments when he had to prove himself. He had to prove that he deserved to be on stage. He had to prove that he was more than just a dancer. He had to prove that he was also a vocalist. And eventually he did. Even as BTS entered the global era, Jimin continued to grow. He never stopped learning. He never stopped trying new things. And he never stopped looking for ways to give something meaningful to his fans. When BTS members began pursuing individual activities, the world saw another side of Jimin. He developed his own musical color. He established a different artistic identity. And he proved that he could stand as an individual without losing his identity as a member of BTS. That is what makes Jimin's journey so fascinating. He has continued to grow without forgetting where he came from. He continues to carry the name BTS. But at the same time, he has built an identity of his own. And when BTS once again became the center of global attention, Jimin returned to the spotlight. ARIRENG became an important moment. BTS's return to the stage together allowed millions of fans to experience emotions they had been waiting years to feel. When the 7 members stood together again, everything changed. ARMY's voices filled the air. The lights came on. The music began. And Jimin returned to doing what has always been such an important part of his life. Performing, dancing, singing, and giving every ounce of his energy to the audience. For some people, it may have been just another concert. But for ARMY, it was a reunion. A moment they had waited years to experience. That is why every moment involving Jimin on stage feels so precious. His smile, his gaze, his dance movements, his interactions with the BTS members. All of it can become a major topic on social media within minutes. And that demonstrates just how powerful Jimin's influence has become. But there is one important thing we should always remember. Popularity does not simply appear overnight. Jimin's popularity was built through a long journey. And any award genuinely given to him would naturally represent recognition of that hard work. For an artist, an award is more than just an object. It is recognition. Recognition that their hard work has been seen, that their contribution has been appreciated, that their journey has meaning. And when that recognition comes from an institution at the highest level, its significance can feel even greater. That is why news about an award involving Jimin can become so emotional for ARMY. Imagine a young man who once dreamed only of becoming a singer. Now his name is known around the world. Imagine someone who once trained for hours in a practice room late into the night. Now he stands on international stages. Imagine someone who once simply hoped to debut. Now he has become part of K-pop history. That is Park Jimin. But Jimin's story does not end with BTS's success. In many ways, reaching the top only creates new challenges. How do you maintain your quality? How do you continue growing? How do you remain yourself when millions of eyes are watching everything you do? Those questions are not easy. But Jimin continues moving forward. He continues working. He continues creating. And he continues trying to give his best. For ARMY, that is one of the reasons they respect him so deeply. Not simply because Jimin is talented, but because he continues to demonstrate dedication. There is a special feeling that often appears when ARMY sees Jimin achieve something. They feel as though they have grown alongside him. They knew Jimin when BTS was still at the beginning of their journey. Then they watched him develop. Year after year, album after album, stage after stage. And eventually, they saw him become one of the most influential Korean artists in the world. That feeling is difficult to describe. Because for many ARMY, Jimin's journey is an emotional one. There were moments when they laughed together. There were moments when they cried. There were moments when they worried. There were moments when they waited. And there were moments when they could finally say, "We made it through everything." Maybe that is why an award can carry such deep meaning. Not only for Jimin, but also for the people who have supported him since the beginning. They see the award as a symbol of the journey they have witnessed together. However, there is one thing that should never be forgotten: the importance of making sure that every piece of information about an award is actually accurate and officially confirmed. In the age of social media, news can spread incredibly quickly. A photograph can go viral. An old video can resurface. A headline can make a story sound even more dramatic. And within a few hours, millions of people may believe something is a confirmed fact. That is why, when we hear that Jimin has received an award from the President of South Korea, we should carefully examine the context. What kind of award is it? When did the ceremony take place? Who presented it? Is there an official statement? Did reliable Korean media report it? These questions matter, because Jimin already has so many real achievements. We do not need to add unverified claims to make him look extraordinary. His actual accomplishments are already extraordinary enough. And perhaps that is what makes this journey